Gospel Diaries, Episode 19.
When you start talking about God, he gonna get happy.
Oh, look, is it recording? All right, what up, Gospel Diaries? Listen, this is just one of those moments that I had to capture. I'm in LongHorn with the one and only, the living legend, Mr. Jeffrey, Dr. Allison Jeffrey LaValley. Would you get him on the camera, please? Would you get him on the camera? Okay, so we're gonna work this out together, okay? So look, we was just sitting here at the table, we were talking about Revival Temple, and a nugget was dropped. He'll make it all right. That song came out, what year was it? 87? 87?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that song.
Well, someone else sent it to them for the project. And Maxine Neely worked for Savoy, and I just happened to send her the original project that I did it on. And she remembered that, years different, she remembered that song from that project and told him that was not that guy's song, that was my song.
And he made it all right. Did he make it all right?
Yes, the checks came through.
Now listen, one would think about, where do you come, what is your mainspring when it comes to your writing? Because you write catchy songs, but yet, when you go back and you listen to them, there is a very prominent, a very powerful message in your song. So, where did that come from?
The thing that inspires me most about writing is Charles May wrote a song that was on a Quincy Jones album called What Good Is a Song? The lyrics to that chorus say, what good is a song if it can't inspire, if it has no message to bring? If a song cannot take you higher, then it's not good enough to sing. And that with every song that I write, I don't care how frequently they come or how seldom they come. With every song that I write, that's in the back of my head. If it cannot take the listener higher, or if it has no message to bring, it's not good enough to sing. So that resonates with me at all times. And I'm not like Michael McKay, you can just mention something. You can say Tabasco, and within 2 minutes he got a complete song.
Right.
That's not me. I'm not prolific like that. I don't have that gift. But when I do write, I don't sit down and say, what today I'm gonna write a tune. That's not the way I operate. There has to be something that strikes a chord in me for me to write. Somebody will say something, or I'll read something, or I'll hear something, and then I'll do it too.
Wow. And I'm glad that you said that, because if you allow me to piggyback off of that, listen, you all be yourself. Everyone else is taken. A lot of times, we try to go after the prototype for certain things, but sometimes that prototype is not the design that God gave you. So go after what God inspired you to do. If you are not the type of writer to write on the spot, stop trying to write on the spot. Let God season some type of whatever he needs to season within you so that you can bring forth what he's trying to bring forth. Now I want to ask you this. I know we hear this all the time, but Dr. Jeffrey LaValley, man, seriously, I just want to capture this. How do it feel when you walk into a church and hear Revelations 19 being played? How did that feel? And unrehearsed. Didn't even know. You didn't know.
It's humbling. Sometimes there have been times that I've heard them and I didn't recognize that's what it was. I said, oh yeah, that's my turn. But it's very, very humbling, because out of the millions upon millions upon millions of songs that people can sing, they don't have to sing that song. And to hear people do that. As a matter of fact, I was watching a video somebody sent me on Facebook before I showed it to him this morning. Some girl in testimony service singing Revelation 19:1, and that was probably the best version I've heard in a long time.
Wow.
I'm like, but wait a minute, and she's singing it as a solo in testimony service. Okay, it's an humbling experience. All of that. Everything that's happened within the last 3-4 years has been quite humbling. because it didn't have to happen that way.
And you know, I can tell you have a heart of worship because when you listen to your music, it puts you in a worship element, you know? Like, because I remember like in the mid 90s, early 90s, you know, at Christ Temple Apostolic Faith Church in Chicago, my childhood church, man, we used to sing that song. And when we would sing the song, like it would usher the spirit in. And that's the type of music that you render to the world. And thank you.
But you have to go back to the source of the song.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the word will always usher in the spirit. You know, the word will do that. You know, and we like to say we're ushering people into the presence of the Lord. No, you're not. You don't have to. He's already there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we don't see it that way.
Yeah.
But he's already there. He's already doing what he does. The guy that inspired me to write, my uncle, Frank Johnson, in Milwaukee, was one of those that told me what gospel was, and his definition of gospel music was, it's the word set to music. And that says it all for me.
Wow.
I try to include the word or part of the word or a segment of the word in every song that I write so that nothing is missing in the long run. And you can't say it's gospel music if you're not singing the gospel.
You preaching. Man, so look, this is our first segment. You know, this is a diary, so that's why I like this type of footage. But go ahead, introduce yourself because I want everyone, well, you don't have to then, but go ahead, introduce yourself.
He's talking to you.
Hello, I'm Reverend Jacob Cogman, United Methodist chaplain at Howard University, and lover of the Lord and gospel, true gospel music, not necessarily what's being played on gospel radio today.
Hi, I'm Dennis Bynes, and I'm from New Jersey.
You from where?
New Jersey.
Are we in New Jersey?
Yes, we.
No, we're
Close enough.
Yes, I'm from Newark. And
you're a musician, and tell the people who you play for.
well, I played back in the day for Bishop Jeff Banks,
Yeah,
the revival
yeah.
for the Mass Choir, that famous choir. And before that, John Daniels is my godfather. He was
Tomato
the
Records.
producer at Tomato Records and Savoy Records. And back in the day, he produced the Clark Sisters.
Come on.
Is My Living in Vain,
Right.
Name It and Claim It.
Right,
He produced Douglas Miller, When I
Right.
See Jesus, with Mattie Morse Clark.
right.
And he also produced Jesus, the best thing that ever happened to me. Yes.
James Cleveland and the Charles Cole
Yes,
singers.
yes.
Yep.
Well, I just wanted to capture this. This is our first segment, and we'll be back. Bye. Tell the people bye. Say bye.
Goodbye.
Bye. Oh yes, I decided to make. Watch out now. Oh yes. There was no. I remember once we were in when I was working for Tremaine. It was Tremaine, Thomas Whitfield, Tommy Gwynn, and Dennis, you one of those people.
and the Richard Small was singers. And we were in Atlanta. And
No, man.
and we were doing the concert. We were there supposed to be there for 2 days. And so the day we were scheduled to leave, Tremaine went to the airport, got on the plane. And we were supposed to leave later on that afternoon. And we get a call from the airport. It's Tremaine. Hello, baby. Yeah. Don't y'all go nowhere. Y'all stay there. They just took mother off our plane. Huh? They just took me off the plane. I'll explain to you when I get back to the hotel. Back to the hotel? But what had happened was the promoter bought everybody's plane tickets with a bounce check. So all of us, the whole group, the Tremaine's band, Smallwood Singers, and Thomas Whitfield, and Gwen, we were all stuck in Atlanta for another 2 days.
What?
Yeah.
How did that make you feel?
I wasn't happy about it, but
Okay.
there wasn't nothing we could do
Yeah.
because we wasn't walking back. I wasn't walking back to Flint. That's a long walk.
Speaking of, how did you kind of get on the road traveling, playing for these groups and
I
stuff?
started with the Wisconsin Community Choir when I was 14.
Now, did they sponsor you?
Yeah, I didn't have,
Okay.
to, pay, I didn't have to pay for
Okay.
nothing. Thanks be to God, I can count the trips that I had to pay for because I was always either working for somebody or working with somebody. And everywhere that I've wanted to go, thank you. Everywhere that I've wanted to go, God has blessed me to go. I can literally count the times that I had to pay.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, speaking of the Wisconsin State Choir, right?
No, it was
Wisconsin Community Choir. I just wanted to make sure if you remember or
Oh,
not.
I know. I was there for the split, so I know.
So listen, I've heard some of these stories where Harrison Johnson told me that he remember when your feet couldn't even touch the foot.
He's right. My feet couldn't
So that's
touch
how
the
it was
pedal.
when you were playing for the Wisconsin Community Choir?
Yeah. I was short. I was like 5'2" till after I graduated from high school at 16.
Really?
And I didn't start growing until I turned 18. So I was short. And I literally had to sit on the actual edge of the organ bench so that I could reach the pedals. We started out as the Northwest Wisconsin State Choir of the Church of God in Christ and the Southeast Wisconsin State Choir of the Church of God in Christ. And in like 1966, the National Church wanted to bring the National Music Conference to Milwaukee. So we decided rather than have two host choirs, we would just merge together for that convention and work as one choir. And come to find out, we liked each other.
Oh wow.
Thank you.
Hey, wait. Can I get you? Oh, okay. I thought you. Oh, okay.
And we liked each other because we'd always talk. You don't hang with them and don't hang with this one and don't hang with that. And we took it literal. And we all from the same church. We were all from Church of God in Christ.
Wow.
But that's how they taught us. So what happened was the bishops said that we couldn't stay together. That we would have to go back to being Southeast Wisconsin and Northwest Wisconsin. What happened? The kids didn't want to do it, we didn't want to do it, and the leaders didn't want to do it. So for like a year or so, if it was a convocation or a workers' meeting, wherever, they were scheduled them both at the same time. So that we would have to decide whether we either going to this one or to that one. But we fixed it. We'd sing at this one, then we'd lead that one. We didn't have no cars or something, and then we'd run across, everybody to walk or take and go to the other one to sing over there, and we'd leave that one and go back over here, sing over there. And this is Sunday morning, official day. And we finally decided this is not happening. And so Frank and Lamont decided to start calling us the Wisconsin Community Choir.
So you you cut your affiliation with the organization?
No, they cut
Okay.
our affiliation.
Okay.
Once they said the Wisconsin Community Choir, they said, well, Frank lost his position as a state minister of music, and Lamont lost his position as state minister of music. But they were non-peering positions in the first place, so they're like, okay, we ain't lost nothing. And that's how we started. And we ended up, this guy named Horace O'Kelly sent our demo tape to Shannon Williams down at Nashville Records, and that's how we ended up on Nashville.
You know what? I'm glad to say this. A lot of times, like, when we're being productive, we still feel that success is being, held from us. But I just want to use this as an example. Like, sometimes those stories, of your journey to success, sometimes they can be bitter at that particular moment. But like hearing Dr. LaValley talk about his experience, now he can look back at it and get strength, and you see why you went through, and then you held on. You didn't let go.
No, I didn't. I stayed with the choir until I left Milwaukee. Our last recording was in 1970.
Wow.
And that was it.
That's something.
But I stayed with, that's where I got my training, and that's where I cut my teeth, being on the road. Then I started going, when I moved to Flint, it was New Jerusalem. Then I started playing for Sarah Jordan Powell. Went from Sarah Jordan Powell to a few more folk. And finally, the magic meeting between Myrna Summers and I happened in 1975 in July at the, it wasn't Gospel Music Workshop, this was the Church of God in Christ National Convention. Myrna was the guest soloist. And another organist of great popularity at that time was on the organ going to play for Myrna. And I was like enthralled with Myrna Summers, because during that day she was the thing, and she was singing her arrangement of I Surrender All. And the verses, of course, were typical, the hymn verses, but her chorus was totally different, and it went left field. And whoever was on the organ did not know it, and the music stopped. And I was sitting in the audience, and I said, I know this. And I jumped up, and I ran, and I got on the piano. And when I started playing, she looked at me, and she nodded, and we rolled off. So that was the first time we met. Now, we never connected officially or got information, nothing like that. The next time I saw her was like 2 months later at the GMWA at Madison Square Garden, and she asked me to play Oh How Precious on the organ. Done deal. We still did not exchange information. When she was preparing for the session, I found Jesus, and one of my friends sang in her choir, and his name was Elder Wayne Jackson, and he called me and he said, Myrna Summers wants to talk to you. I said, yeah. I said, what she want me for? He said, well, she wanted that little boy that played the organ for her in New York. She said she don't know why she didn't get his information.
Oh, wow.
And it was me.
Wow.
So we were good friends. He gave her my number. She called. The next thing I know, I'm in Washington practicing for the session before I found Jesus, and I'm glad. The rest is history.
That's amazing. Your playing is on so many historic records. And speaking of relationships, like I think about the O'Neill twins, Tell us a little bit about your relationship with the O'Neill twins.
That comes from I used to go to St. Louis a lot. Wisconsin Union Choir used to go to St. Louis an awful lot. And that's where I met the O'Neill. That's where they were from. So where else would I meet them? That's I met the O'Neill twins then, and they. I was really surprised when they called me to do their session, because they had organists in the choir. They had Cookie and Malcolm Speed was in the choir, and others, and they, Milton called and said they want you to play. Will you come? And St. Louis has a myriad of excellent musicians. You got Dello Thedford, and you had that whole bunch of people that could play anything at the drop of a hat. And they asked me to come do it, and I was like cloud nine.
Wow. I remember. So I was at the house. I was cleaning up, doing some housework or whatever, and I'm listening to the O'Neill twins. I think it was the double album, right? And
Saved by His Love.
All of a sudden, They say, play it, Jeffy. Play it again, Jeffy.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
The Lord strong and mighty.
Then I hit you. I'm
And
like,
that
is
was the
that
remake.
you?
That was the remake.
Really?
Yep, that was me. And that was not planned. Another unplanned moment, which is probably the one that catapulted me into a lot of work, was Mona Summer's I Keep Holding On. The organ solo at the end, she just pointed to me and said, I'm like, what? And I had like maybe 2 seconds to think, what are you going to do? Because most of the time, that stuff was arranged. Mm-hmm. It wasn't. She just looked at me and said, wow. And I had to think fast. As a matter of fact, it wasn't even me. That had to be the Lord. Mm-hmm. Because I wasn't thinking about playing no solo. As a matter of fact, for that particular session, I had no practice. Mm-hmm. I didn't have a rehearsal. Jerry Gorham, who was Mona's musician at that time, was probably one of the most spectacular keyboardists ever. And one of the best I ever worked with. He taught me every song for that session 45 minutes before the session started down in the basement of Refreshing Spring. Wow. That's how Jerry was amazing. He was amazing, and he taught me that stuff. So of course I was not ready for no solo. I just started playing first thing that came to mind. I was like, okay, here we go, and you go for it.
And you know what? This is last but not least. I don't think I've ever heard you really talk about your relationship with James Cleveland. I think that's quite relevant, because he's the king of gospel. So, tell us what you can about the king of gospel.
I didn't know James Cleveland knew who I was.
Really?
Because people knew my playing, but they didn't know what I looked like because I was always behind the scenes. And we were getting ready for Free Spirit.
Oh, yes.
In St. Louis one year, and I was standing in the hallway. Jimmy Dahl was the minister of music, and I was his assistant. And he and I was discussing some things that needed to be done. And Reverend Cleveland walked out of their board meeting and saw us talking, and he walked over to me, and he told Jimmy, I need to talk to Jeffrey. You need to move. Jimmy said absolutely nothing. He just walked away. And Reverend Cleveland said, I've been watching you for a long time. He said, and the Messengers are getting ready to do an album, and I want you to produce it.
Wow.
And I looked at him and said, you have to go ask my pastor, because that's how I was taught. Mm-hmm. So
how do it feel to have the gift to play?
It's an humbling experience.
Wow.
Music speaks to everybody. And to be able to communicate without words is probably one of the most amazing things. To be able to reach people without having to say another word.
Wow. Well, and we bless God for that. You all love on someone and change a life.
Yes, at church the Sunday before, and that Monday, church burned down. Wow. Stone Temple was here from Chicago.
Stone Temple?
Yeah, and the sound guy kept saying kept hearing this crackling, but he didn't know where it was coming from. And the soundboard was burning from the interior, but it took 24 hours for it to literally burn up. And I was in the bed asleep that Monday afternoon, and somebody called me and said, your church is on fire.
Oh, no.
And I said, okay, and hung up the telephone. And went back to bed. And sure enough, the church had burned down to pretty much nothing but a shell.
Wow.
So this is where
We rebuilt this as a community center. As a matter of fact, for a couple of years, we even used it as the office complex, but we had church up the street. Wow. There was a Catholic church complex about 3 blocks up the street that we had utilized as a drug rehab complex. And the church was still on the premises, so we took Mary and Joseph down and moved all our equipment in and had service there the next Sunday after the fire.
Wow. You know, not often do you have the opportunity to really embrace a piece of our cultural history, you know, and I'm standing with someone, you, Jeffrey LaValley. You've been here for how long, how many years?
It'll be 50 years in December.
50 years, and you have really made an impression, you know, an indelible impression in history here. How does it feel to still be here 50 years later, talking to someone that wasn't even born when you came here?
Strange. Nobody could tell me that I would have been here 50 years.
Wow.
Seasons are different, you know, and everybody's season may not be the same length. Wow. I know God has me here for a purpose, so until He says we're moving you elsewhere, I'm gonna stay right here.
Wow. Wow. Well, let's get some footage of you going into the church. So you come in on Sunday mornings, you park your car, and you walk into church, and you do the, what is this, from Amen, what's his name, Sherman Henson, you do that walk into the church?
No, some days I come in with my head down, and I don't feel like coming, but I come straight through this door.
Uh-huh. You all, we have a treat too. Miss Beverly Glenn is in the car right there. He comes right in through this door.
I come straight through this door. I even got keys. I've been here so long.
Can I enter?
Come right on in.
All right. Here we go. I'm going to go in. Look how big this is.
This is the foyer. I come in straight normal. I go straight to the office, but usually I'll walk around, get a feel of what's happening in the building. People are talking, you know, whatever the case may be. Come on in.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Wow, this is the New Jerusalem. Who's the pastor now?
Patrick Sanders.
Isn't that beautiful? Hello, Mr. Jeffrey. Just say hello.
Hello.
How you feeling?
I'm ecstatic right now.
That's what's up. I just wanted to capture some footage of you out here.
I am totally ecstatic. This is unbelievable for me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Cousins. I mean, and this cat is talented. There's not, and we talk to each other at least once a week. We talk to each other, you know, and just send them a little message. Hey, dude, you know, be encouraged. That type of thing, you know. Ronnie Kersey was a genius. I'm sure you've heard of Carolyn Cole.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Her mother played piano for Southwest Michigan. Dr. Janet
Really?
Cole. Yes, she did most of the piano on the old album, the Write My Name Above albums, and those albums back. Salvation is Free. I mean, and she and Ronnie Kersey were a team. I mean, they were amazing working together. They knew how to work together without running in each other's way or, you know, or blocking each other's path when it came to playing. They knew who, you know, okay, you take this, I got that. There wasn't the fact that we did quote unquote arrangements.
Right.
They just let the Lord lead them, and it was an awesome experience.
Speaking of Carolyn Cole, I think didn't she either played a rendition of Praying Spirit, right?
Yep,
she did it with
she sang with the
Final Veil, right?
As a matter of fact, on that project, I'm on piano on every song on that project except Praying Spirit.
Oh, wow.
I'm on the organ on Praying Spirit because Carol sang the solo.
Oh, wow. Wow, listen, we could talk all day until the cows come home, but listen, I don't normally do this, but I would like to do this. Listen, when you love on someone, you can definitely change their life. And I found out that when we as a people, when we are inspired, we do better at aiming towards our goals and our dreams. So what I want you all to do is, could you give the address to the church? Listen, if you're watching this and you've ever been inspired by any of his music, would you please pick up a pen and some paper and put a letter in the mailbox and just say what you want to say to Dr. Jeffrey LaValley. Could you give the address? to the church?
No.
Flint.
My church address is, well, of course, if you don't know the name of my church after 50 years, you don't know me. But the name of my church is New Jerusalem Full Gospel Baptist Church. The address is 1035 East Carpenter Road, Flint, Michigan, 48505. If you want to reach me via email, it's just ajefflava@gmail.com. And I really would appreciate.
And what about the cash? What's your cash app handle?
I don't
You
know
might
if I
have to
want
look at your phone.
I know what it is.
Oh,
I
okay.
just don't want them to have my first name.
Oh, well, how can they sew? How can they sew then?
No, it's $, Allison LaValley. And don't you tell nobody my first name.
All right, so with that being said, like I always say, look, so I was in Chicago with Percy Gray, and I was
Wonderful guy.
Yeah, shout out. I'm gonna say this story all the time now. Like I was saying, love on someone and change it. Like he said, no. He's like, I like that. I want to say that. So since then, I've been asking everyone to say that. So can you close us out with that? The quote goes, love on someone and change a life.
The problem I have with that is you change 2 lives.
Okay.
So here it is. Love on someone. And not only change their life, but change your life.
Uh-oh.